have here this great clip, Remapping Time from Carnival of Souls again. Drag this to my timeline. Now we talked before about how you can right-click on a clip, select speed duration, and select reverse speed to play a clip backwards. But that doesn't always work in every situation because sometimes I don't want to play the entire clip backwards, I want to play just a portion of the clip backwards. Using a somewhat secret shortcut with timer mapping, we can actually play a piece of a clip backwards. So I'm going to go to the end of this clip when we have this ghoul lady coming out of the water. And I actually want to make her recede back into the water. So I'm going to change the rubber band to control timer mapping speed. And I'm going to command click or control click with the PC. So you notice as I drag around here, I get additional icons. But I need this one. I need the white arrow with the plus sign that indicates we'll be adding a keyframe here. Again, that's command on the Mac and control on the PC. I'm going to click that here. We get a regular timer mapping keyframe. And I'm going to click this keyframe. And when I get that icon, the left and right arrow icon, I'm going to hold again the command key on the Mac and the control key on the PC and drag this to the right. Notice that icon right there. Notice the film with the two backwards or left-facing arrows. That indicates that we are basically adding footage to play this clip backwards. Notice that my program monitor will show me where the end of my backwards footage will stop playing. So I'm going to drag a little bit to the right. Maybe put that hand back in the water. Now I'm going to back this clip up a little bit. And let's play it and see what we have. Now before I play this back, notice that these left-facing arrows in the timeline indicate backwards footage. See what it looks like. And there we have it. The ghoul lady goes back into the water, and the hand goes back into the water as well. Now again, we're very aware that audio is not time mapped with the video because the audio cut out and it felt a little weird. And again, we'll talk about audio later, but the point here is that time remapping in Premiere Pro CS3 gives us the ability to animate speed, and not only animate speed, but all time changes, even if we want to go backwards in time. Now there's one final time trick I want to show you, and that's freezing a frame, and that's next. We were going to talk about how to create a freeze frame where a frame just kind of stops. The reason why I kept this movie at the end of the chapter is because I think this is a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. That being said, it's not all that tough. It's probably just a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. So I'm going to drag my clip down to the timeline here. And what I want to do is create a freeze frame when this guy opens his eyes. So I want to play the clip as normally, and then when it gets to that point, have it just hold there. So the way that we have a frame freeze or hold is by right-clicking on a clip and selecting frame hold. And we want to make sure that we turn hold on. That's how we make this happen. And then we have some choices here. Now we're not going to talk about markers in this training series, so essentially we have in points and out points to hold on. So even if I trim this here, and then I'm just going to hit the left arrow to be able to see my final frame, so I know that this is my out point. Even if I change my out point to that, then select frame hold and say hold on out point, seems like it would work, right? No. Actually what it did is took this entire clip and replaced the whole video with the out point. So I'm going to undo that, Command Z or Control Z, and I'm actually going to drag another instance of this clip to the timeline right after the one I already have. Then I can go over here to the second clip, find the frame I want to hold on, then crop this so that's the new out point, right click on this clip, select frame hold, hold on, out point, hit OK, and now this entire clip is just that one frame. So now as I come here and play this back, just kind of holds on that. Now I wasn't very careful about making sure that I had the exact frame on both. You would definitely want to do that in a production environment. Also, we have some audio problems as the audio was cut with this audio that doesn't really fit. This audio here, on the clip on the right, is playing the beginning audio. So to have this weird cut is very awkward. So we'd want to take that apart, and I'll show you how to do that in the audio chapter. But essentially, this is how to create a freeze frame, and this ends our discussion on playing with time. Now we're going to move on to talking about effects. If you thought Premiere was even slightly fun before, wait till you get a load of effects. Effects add so much to the Premiere experience. Using effects, we can distort our clips, we can add things like lens flares, we can color correct our clips, all sorts of fun stuff that you'll see as we go through this chapter. We need to have the effects panel open. Now again, if you're not seeing the effects panel, or the effect controls panel, which we'll be using momentarily, you can go to the window menu and just click on effects or effect controls. Now coming back down here to my effects panel, you see that we have 5 basic categories. We have presets, audio effects, audio transitions, video effects, and video transitions. It's important to note that Premiere considers transitions like effects. And like effects, we adjust them in the effect controls panel. We use the effects panel to find the effect we're looking for and apply it. Once applied, we use the effect controls panel to alter the effect. So since we're talking about video effects in this chapter, let's open up the folder Video Effects. And you'll see all these additional folders. Actually, let me resize that so you can see a little bit more about what's going on. And all of these categories here, from adjust to video, are categories of effects. So if we were going to open up the distort folder, for example, all these little plug icons represent different effects. So corner pin is one effect, twirl is another effect, and so forth. Now for me, sometimes I have a tough time remembering which plugin or which effect is in which folder. So Premiere makes it easy for people like me. So I can go to this little search window here, and let's say I'm looking for the twirl effect. I simply type T, and it shows me everything with a T in it, which is quite a bit of stuff. And then I type W, and there's much less stuff that has a T and a W next to it. So pretty much I have twirl stuff. Now we'll talk about presets in a moment, so I'm going to close that up. And here we have the twirl effect. Now there are 2 ways to apply effects. We can click in the effects panel on the effect, and then drag to a clip and let go here, which is actually the way I prefer to apply effects. But we can also, with the clip selected, drag that effect to its effect controls panel. Be aware that while you have something in the search field here in the effects panel, you will not be able to see other effects. So if I were to open up video effects, that's all I'm getting, because I'm telling Premiere I only want to see stuff that has a T followed by a W. So to clear out this area, I can just hit this little X, and now I'm seeing everything. So, now, let's go back up to our effect controls panel here, and we can resize it thusly so we get a better idea of what's going on here. Open up twirl, and actually, let's get to a more interesting part of our video real quick. I'm going to select my timeline, and let's play this familiar clip from Ninja Death 3. Beautiful. Let's settle on that gorgeous face here. So currently we're not really seeing this effect very much. So let's take up the angle and twist it. Now we're starting to see this. This is creating a twirl effect in my clip. If I drag this to an extreme, you'll start seeing that I am creating a very severe distortion here. Let's take that back to 0. What's kind of cool about this twirl effect is we can make really subtle changes to make interesting distortions in our footage. We can twirl it out of oblivion to make a really interesting patterns and stuff, but also we could just kind of tweak our footage a little bit. Notice with a small change, such as 16 degrees, it kind of looks like our character is looking down a little bit. Hey kids, want some candy? And then as we tilt it to the left, it looks like he's kind of looking up, like he's laughing at a joke or something. In the next segment, we're going to talk about how to animate. But again, that's for the next segment. Now, when effects have this icon, it means that if you click it, you will see the effect point center. This is the center of the effect. Let me make this very dramatic here so we can see what's going on when we move this. So there's an obvious twirl going on. Let's make it even more defined. But with twirl selected, not motion selected, but with twirl selected, this little point here is not the anchor point, it's the effect point, or in other words, the twirl center. So I can click and drag this around, and you'll see that the twirl is happening in a different place. When we do this, it kind of looks like he's breakdancing. Very nice. We can also change the twirl center from using the hot text here, but I find that it's much easier to just click and drag and move this wherever you want. But it's not as precise. So again, if you're looking for precision, then you might want to manually type in those numbers here. Another great thing about effects in Premiere is that they're non-destructive, meaning that we have not ruined our clip at all. If we don't like this effect, we can do one of two things. We can hit this button, which will reset the effect back to square one. And by the way, this reset button works for all effects, both standard effects, which are effects that we apply from this panel, or fixed effects, such as motion and opacity, which already come on a clip once we drag it to the timeline. So I could reset it, or I could simply select it and hit the delete key. That gets rid of the effect as well. So again, no harm done. Feel free to apply as many effects as you want and play around as much as you want. Now, before we get into animating effects in the next segment, I want to show you one other little thing here. There are also these presets. And presets are basically effect animations already stored for you for convenience. We'll talk in the Beyond the Basics training series how to create your own effects presets. Now I'm going to open up the Twirls folder, and this is a preset, you can tell by the little star here, and I'm going to drag Twirl in to my clip and let go. But look at my effect controls panel. There's a twirl effect with stopwatches and everything here. If I hit the home key after hitting the timeline, you'll see that there's already a twirl effect, and if I play this, look at that. Our cool ninja movie twirls in, and then the ninja himself twirls in. Now, I know you know how to animate, we've talked about that already. But in the next segment, we're going to look at what kind of trouble we can get into when we actually apply what we know about animation to animating the different properties of effects.